Mike Gallagher.
You first met attorney Jon Marko a few months ago when we shared a very good story how he represented a woman who was fired from her job because she was working remotely but wouldn't take the COVID vax. Good guy. Jon Marko is about to join us, an attorney based in Detroit, Michigan. Now, though, he's representing a client of a very different nature, a woman nearly 500 pounds whose feelings were hurt and felt discriminated against because she wasn't given a ride in a rideshare vehicle called Lyft. Here's the report from a local affiliate in Detroit.
Blanding tells us she was just trying to get to a Detroit Lions watch party this month when her Lyft rolled up.
As I'm walking, I see him like making faces or whatever. I'm like, oh man.
She already knew.
I can fit in this car.
No, believe me, you can.
Yes, I can.
Believe me.
He told her there's not enough room in his car.
The kicker part was when he started to talk about his tires. You know, I feel like that was a slap in the face. That was like my tires, you know, like.
The driver said his tires could not handle her weight.
For every big person you turn down because they can't fit in your car?
Yeah, because they need to order the Uber XL.
You know what? I don't never have to order Uber XL.
He apologized, canceled the ride, and left her there. The rapper says she's pretty tough.
I get the money and flip it and make some food.
Dank Demoss, as she's known at the mic, is crushed by the whole situation.
I just want them to know, like, it really hurt my feelings.
It looks like Lyft might be hurting pretty soon, too.
I knew it was illegal, and I knew that it was wrong.
Her attorneys, Jon Marko and Zach Runyon, say weight is a protected characteristic in Michigan by law.
It would be no different than a driver pulling up and saying, you know, I don't want to have black people in my car, or I don't want to have Christians in my car, or Muslims in my car. It's the same. Under the law, it's the same.
The lawsuit is filed. Since she posted the encounter on social media, other full-figured folks have reached out saying the same thing happened to them.
Now, again, Jon Marko is the guy you want in your corner because, I mean, his nickname is $1 Million Marko. He's got a very successful podcast, and he's that lawyer quoted in the piece. Let's welcome back to the Mike Gallagher Show, principal attorney and founder of Marko Law in Detroit. Counselor, welcome back. Now, you know I can only get in trouble over this segment. Nothing good will come from this. Nothing
Mike,
good, because I
to
don't want
see
to
you.
It's good to see you as well. I mean, I don't want to fat shame your client, but she's nearly 500 pounds. What was the size of the vehicle? Because you couldn't really tell from her video. It looked to me like a Camry or a Toyota, right? A Corolla?
No, it was a Mercedes. It was a large Mercedes. You know, these Mercedes have those big back seats. And Mike, I got to tell you, look, I was a little surprised when the story came out that my client has received kind of a lot of negative pushback on this, which as an attorney that does it, I was kind of surprised because I didn't expect this to receive such a negative backlash, because it's not just about her, but since this has come out, I've received calls from other people. I have a video, for example, of an 82-year-old elderly woman who called an Uber to the doctors to get help. And and she had a walker, Mike, so she's, you know, walking out trying to get into the Uber. And when the Uber driver saw that she had a walker, he didn't want to deal with it, so he sped off, and she didn't make her doctor's appointment. And so, I mean, I get your viewers, and I get we can take a look at this and say, you know, we can laugh at it or say that that this negative backlash, but this isn't just for her; it's for everybody. I mean, Mike, what if you try to get an Uber and they said, you know what, I don't pick up white people? I mean, how?
Well, and of course, I don't have a choice about my race. I have no choice of my skin color. Maybe Dank Demoss doesn't have choice over her weight. Maybe she's got a glandular situation or thyroid. But, you know, I get your point about weight being a protected, you know, class, I guess. In Michigan, you cite the law. But I keep thinking about all the pragmatic issues that people who are overweight or in this case, you know, morbidly obese face, like getting on an airplane. And there's a whole debate about that. And I thought about that too. Is the airline required to give a 489 passenger 3 seats? Give them the whole row, because she surely can't fit into a regular seat on an airplane.
Yeah, Mike, that's a great point. If this was a Delta Airlines case, we got a big hub out of Detroit, I wouldn't have touched this case at all. And I would have said, I'm sorry. But that's different because on a Delta flight, you know, you pay for the seat, and you're going to inconvenience or prevent other people from being able to fly, where you're encroaching on other people's rights.
Right.
In this particular case, look, if she literally couldn't fit in the vehicle, like she literally couldn't fit in the door, then I wouldn't bring this case either. But in this case, she had been in these types of vehicles before. She wasn't encroaching on anyone other's rights other than the driver said, I just don't want to take a big woman in my car.
Well, but John, come on. Now, John, you know that he didn't just say, well, I just don't want to take you. He clearly had a legitimate concern that a nearly 500-pound woman was going to be rough on maybe the car, the vehicle, the suspension. I mean, you don't think why else would he have turned her away if not for her weight?
Well, he did turn away from her weight, but okay, let's say he picked up 3 people in an Uber. Look, a 500-pound woman is not going to break a Mercedes
No, you're right.
sedan,
You're right.
Okay,
you're right. Of course,
you
of
pick
course.
up 3 people. I go with my friends down to the Detroit Lions, who unfortunately aren't going to make it this year. But I get an Uber. We load in 3 people, and we each weigh close to 200. That's 600 pounds right there. So
Jon Marko is our guest. He's the founder of Marko Law out of Detroit. We're talking about this case of this woman. Incidentally, what happened? I want to ask you what you want because you're suing. What do you want from Lyft, which is of course the company that is under the umbrella for the rideshare? But first of all, what happened to the driver?
Nothing, as far as we can tell. Nothing has happened to the driver. We want an apology from Lyft, and look, we just want them to implement policies so this doesn't happen to anyone, and not just because of your weight, but because of the other things I told you. If your grandma needs to go to the doctors, you need to be rest assured that if they call a business, that they're not going to violate that person's rights. Or, you know, if you're coming out of church with a cross hanging off your chest, and you want to go to the church or whatever, that you're not going to be discriminated there at all either. We're just asking for equal policies for equal protection. That's all.
Well, look, it's a fascinating case, and I always appreciate you popping on the show. And again, I just heard, my producer just told me about your podcast. Is the podcast called Cases Gone Wild?
Yeah, it's Cases Gone Wild, Mike, and it's just about some of the case. I love to sit and have a beer with my lawyer friends. I love the law and talk about these crazy cases that we're handling, like the one I'm talking to you and the others.
This is one of them. This is one of them. I mean, but look, that everybody's entitled to a legal representation, and it's a tough issue. And honestly, I'm not just saying this to blow smoke in your ear. You're one of my favorite common sense voices that we've talked to over the years. You make a lot of sense. You're obviously very successful. And look, if I may turn to you if somebody gives me the flu because I'm a hypochondriac, I'm going to have you sue on my behalf because the person next to me on the airplane made me sick. All right. Jon Marko, check out his podcast and come back again and visit with us. Jon Marko from Marko Law in Detroit, Michigan, representing Dank Demoss, who, a lot of people are texting me saying, John has a point. If 230-pound people got in the back of an Uber or a Lyft, that wouldn't be a problem. So why does one 489 woman cause a problem? It's a good conversation starter, eh?